everyone, thanks very much for coming back and joining me. If you're new to my YouTube channel, my name is Julie. Tonight I am really excited because last night I went to see John Wick Chapter 3 Parabellum. I am a massive Keanureeves fan, love his movies. So if you haven't seen John Wick and John Wick 2, they're amazing movies. I would strongly advise you go and watch them. And if you haven't seen John Wick 3, please go and watch it and feel more than welcome to come back and join me again with a cup of tea or a cup of coffee or whatever beverage, and you can watch my review. But for the rest of you that have seen this fantabulous, amazing, wow, unreal, out of this world movie, then as Winston would say in John Wick, and away we go. Wow, John Wick 3 Parabellum was perfection at its best. This movie was freaking awesome. I cannot fault this movie. Now, what I want to say, guys, is I have my pages of notes sitting here because honestly I can go off on a tangent and I want to make sure that I don't leave anything out that I want to say. I doubt anybody would mind. Now, in this movie we had, of course, returning characters that was in the other movies, and we also had a couple of cameos, which I was actually surprised to see that I didn't know were going to be in there. So a couple of new characters that we had, which we knew from the trailer, was Angelica Houston as the director of the High Table, and I'm sure a lot of you, just like me, recognised her as Morticia Addams from the Addams Family. And what was really cool, did anyone else notice, was she had like this, I think it was like a red sort of cape looking cardigan on, and it sort of like came up like this, you know, almost like her costume in the Addams Family, so I thought that was really cool. And as well we had Halle Berry as Sophia, and wow. Really, I think she's a good actress, but I really loved her as Storm in X-Men. But apart from that, and Catwoman, I haven't actually seen her in many other movies really, so it was really nice to see her in this movie, and she kicked ass. And we also had, I don't know how to pronounce this because I've never seen this actress before apart from last night, Asia Kate, and she was the adjudicator. Now, I've never seen her before, but I thought she was a really talented actress, and she played that role really well. We also had Penguin from the TV series Gotham. I'm really sorry, I don't know the actor's name, but he was an administrator as a cameo in this. A real surprise for me was Jerome Finn, who plays Bronn in the TV series Game of Thrones. He's hilarious. And talking off Game of Thrones, guys, since he was also in an episode, we had Ian McShane, the talented Ian McShane, who returned, of course, as Winston. Of course, as well, we have the awesome king, Lawrence Fishburne. So funny. Now, I want to say, actor-wise and character-wise, everybody served their time well, you know. I didn't kind of feel like anybody was left out or anything, and I don't have any issues with any of the actors. Keanureeves was sensational and absolutely flawless. Seriously, the choreography in this movie is just perfection, top notch. Keanureeves works immensely hard on these John Wick movies, like seriously. He is absolutely incredible, and it's hard to believe that this man is in his 50s, and he certainly doesn't look like he's in his 50s. I mean, we get to see him fighting on a horse, guys, on a horse. And just before I go into that, I want to say, when he tied him up, one of the guys, he tied a guy up on a rope and just started galloping along on a horse. Absolutely hilarious. We also had bike scenes, fighting on motorbikes, and we all know, you know, in real life Keanureeves loves his motorbikes. We had sword fights, we had gun fights, we had CQC fighting, we had ninjutsu, we also had just, like, what did we not have? Like, literally, we literally got everything. Like, go Keanu, I love you, you're a legend, you're a genius, I literally love you. Now, CGI and visual wise, I want to say, guys, that it was perfection, flawless. Now, this is only in my eyes, absolutely incredible. And anything that was there, CGI wise, I'll be honest, you wouldn't have noticed it to the eye. It was extremely minimal. I really wouldn't have really noticed anything, and I thought it was very respectful to the tone of the movie, and it really did just concentrate on, you know, John Wick as a character, and, you know, the writing of the story, the lore, and just being a really good, well done movie. And that's what I really loved about this movie. It was very well done. Now, this film, for me, in my opinion, was 10 times better than John Wick 2. Now, I did like the first one, but I thought the second one was just way better. But wow, times 10 for me, better than John Wick 2. I loved how this movie opened. Of course, it's a continuation straight on from, you know, John Wick 2. And it opened in stormy weather. I'm maybe a bit of a weirdo, but I love like rain and stormy weather, and even snow. Obviously there wasn't snow in this movie, but just saying, guys. So I loved that it opened up in stormy weather and in New York City. It is my dream to one day go to New York City. So obviously the High Council want his life, and, you know, there's a bounty on him for 14 million. So, you know, everybody's, you know, out to get him and is looking for him. I am so glad that nothing happened to John Wick's dog in this movie, and I was really glad, you know, to see that, you know, he told the taxi driver, you know, take him to the Continental, and I was so glad to see that, you know, the dog survived the movie, so it was awesome. And I loved at the beginning when he kissed the photo of him and his wife, and one of the guys that was sort of, you know, hunting him down for the money. It was hilarious. John Wick got this like book, and he just shoved it into his mouth and then elbowed it into his mouth. And I laughed so hard at that, honestly, it was hilarious. Now, one thing that I loved the most about this movie was, although it is insanely, massively action-packed and just every minute, you know, it's just boom, 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 absolutely incredible. But what was amazing was you had that, plus it was so funny. It was absolutely so funny, and it's hard to kind of get a perfect balance of that, you know, to kind of get action-packed plus humour from start to finish. But you know what? They perfectly balanced it, and they done it absolutely perfect. I want to say credit to the whole entire cast. You see, every single person that was doing any fighting scene whatsoever, you're freaking amazing. Honestly, yous were all insanely talented, and I have to say, I love my fighting movies, I love my martial arts movies. I am a massive fan of Bruce Lee, Tony Jaa, Scott Adkins, honestly, Van Damme. I just love all fighting type of movies, honestly. I honestly highly enjoyed the fighting scene, you know, the knives fighting scene at pretty much the beginning of the movie, and it was really well choreographed. And I loved the way they both just sort of like looked at each other, and then John Wick, you know, smashed the window to get some of the knives out, and so did one of the other dudes. And then what was really funny, I couldn't stop laughing, this whole movie was so funny. It was so funny, one of the guys was throwing knives, obviously toward John Wick, and what was hilarious was both missed, and both of them went into one of his mates' back. I loved the motorway scenes, with a couple of motorway scenes. We had the one on the motorbike with swords, like motorbikes and swords. You know, we then also had the horse and everything, John Wick on the horse. Loved the whole Casablanca thing, kind of slightly, only slightly, give me kind of Game of Thrones vibes. Don't know about anybody else. And of course he got the director to send him to meet Sophia. And when he went to her, she was sort of reluctant to sort of help him. And Halle Berry and her dogs were absolutely incredible in this movie. It was funny, she was angry at him when she first saw him and everything, and then she said to John, sit. But the two dogs thought they were talking. She was talking to the dogs, and the dogs sat down in her Alsatians, and she said, I was talking to you, John. It was brilliant. She's really a good actress in this movie, honestly. And Halle Berry, I have to say, I was watching a behind the scenes thing, and she was saying that, you know, she did an awful lot of her own stunts and everything, so you know what, hats off to you, well done, woman. And as well, you know, I loved her kicking butt, especially when, I'm just going to call him Bronn from Game of Thrones because it just seems to sound killer. Bronn from Game of Thrones killed her Alsatian because he said he wanted her dog, and she said, no, you're not having my dog, and he shot him, and wow, she just went nuts. But what I loved was, and her dog took no prisoners, and what I loved was there was a scene where she like slid onto the table, and then our two Alsatians were like, one was at either side. An example of humour would be even when Halle Berry and John Wick were kicking ass, he was fighting like two or three other men, and they all needed to reload their guns at the same time, and it was so funny and an awkward sort of look, like, oh, we all need to reload here. And as well, I loved the reason that John Wick wanted to stay alive. That was really emotional. Like, he even told the guy, you know, of the high table in the desert, I want to live to remember her. And of course, you know, we all know he was talking about his wife. And, you know, he asked John then to kill Winston. And I knew that wasn't going to happen because, you know, they're really good friends and everything. And I just love the whole entire lore of this movie, guys. Honestly, it really goes in deep. It really, really does. I mean, even more so than the second movie. And that's why I preferred this one than the second one. And the ending was unreal. Those fight scenes in the Continental Hotel. Seriously, massive hat off to all of you. Absolute geniuses. I mean, those glass floors and everything and all the fighting scenes. Wow. Seriously, wow. Like, Keanu Reeves at one point didn't have anything to fight with. And he's just like, do you know what? I'm just going to take off my freaking belt because that's how I'm going to do it as John Wick, and I'm just going to start kicking ass with that. How about that? Then of course, after all those amazing fight scenes, the adjudicator then, she sent in, you know, her best troops, so to speak, as she said, because Winston wouldn't step down, and of course John wasn't going to kill Winston. So her troops came in and Winston stayed in the safe locked room, you know, where they keep all the weapons and everything and all the guns, and I thought that was so funny. And he was just sitting there sipping away like a connoisseur. My glass isn't as fancy as his, guys, but he's just, you know, sitting there, you know, drinking away, and it was absolutely hilarious. Like, all this meanwhile, John and Sharon were kicking butt and killing all around him, you know. Absolutely hilarious. And then they're just walking in and out and reloading and getting more guns, lots of guns. And he's just sitting there and they're walking and they're like, yeah, we need to kind of reload sort of thing. He's just like, sort of like, go on ahead, I'm just sitting here enjoying my drink. In the middle of all that, I couldn't stop laughing. The adjudicator rang. And Winston answered, and he just hung up on her when she was in the middle of talking. Brilliant. I thought it was so nice at the end, and it was such a touching way to end this movie, especially for the friendship between John Wick and Winston, you know, because we really get to see the struggle that not only John Wick had as a character, but also Winston between the two of them. And I thought that the whole story with Keanu Reeves and Ian McShane was absolutely well done, really, honestly, between those two characters. Lastly, I have to talk about Baba Yaga, the king. Oh my goodness, so funny. What an end scene. This is like one of the best scenes in an action movie at the end that I have seen in a long time. John Wick, you know, obviously, you know, Ian McShane pretended to kill Keanu Reeves. Obviously, you know, he was only sort of like pretended to kill him, and then when he sort of like fell and stumbled over the wall and then fell over, obviously he ended up in the street, and then he was picked up in the trolley, and it was so lovely to see his dog walking along at the end. And then he was taken to Baba Yaga, and he was just sipping on a bottle of Fanta. Loved how Fanta, you know, is getting their promotion in there, and he's sitting on a gold chair, like with this like gold looking chair that looks like a throne. He's like, I'm king of the throne. Because you remember when he said earlier in the movie to the adjudicator, I'm the king, baby. And he basically says that he wants to start war. You know, he tells this to Keanu Reeves. And I mean, what was cool was obviously, you know, the word Parabellum means war. So I really liked that they called this movie John Wick 3, chapter 3, Parabellum. You know, because that's going to be the lead on to what's now going to be happening. You know, they're going to be starting a war, basically, the two of them. And they're just like, I've had a freaking well enough. I'm all for it, guys. I want to see John Wick 4. So it's pretty obvious we are getting another John Wick movie. And I don't know how well this movie has been doing so far. You can let me know if anybody knows. For me, marks out of 10. I normally mark the movies that I review out of 10. So from me, guys, honest review, 10 out of 10. That's the marks I'm going to give this movie. 10 out of 10, because I couldn't fault it if someone forced me to. If someone sat me down and were like, no, pick something bad about it or nitpick or whatever. I can't, guys. I can't nitpick at it. It was flawless. It was legendary. And I don't like the word epic being thrown around and used, you know, when something's not epic. But to me, this was epic. So I don't mind using the word. You know, it's called for. One last thing I want to say is, and I said this to my boyfriend last night straight after we came out of the cinema, do you know what I loved about that movie? I sat and I enjoyed it from start to finish. I was so happy. I was smiling the entire movie. I was just so beyond happy at how good it was. But the one thing that I loved was they didn't put any agenda or any nonsense in there. And also what I loved was Halle Berry and Keanureeves, when they were together, they were working as a team and they were helping whip butt together. Do you know what I mean? Like, she never once made him look dumbed down or anything like that. There was none of that. They just focused on the movie. Simple as that. And this is a perfect example of how to do a movie right. So movie companies, TV series companies, take note. You don't need the nonsense. This was proof of it all. I didn't see anything, guys, that I would say that was CGI, that looked like CGI. It literally just looked like a film that they didn't use, you know, effects or anything like that. Like, obviously they probably did, you know, there would have been some effects and some CGI, but I honestly didn't notice it, guys. I really didn't. Cinematography wise, this was flawless, down to a fine art. If you were involved in this movie even in a small way, or be it a big way, congratulations. I'm really happy for you, and I really hope that your movie does really well, because this was phenomenal. And please bring me John Wick 4, because I need it in my life. Thank you so much for watching, guys, and I will see you all in my next video. Let me know down in the comments below what you thought of this movie and what you would give it out of 10, or maybe out of 5 stars or something like that. But other than that, guys, I'll see you all in my next video. But before you go, I want to say something. Thank you so much from the bottom of my heart for all the support. It will never go unnoticed. See you soon, guys. Bye.